Hello, kindergarten. Today we're going to be working on the comfortable cat. Remember, C is a really strange letter because it makes the sound k, and it doesn't have that sound anywhere in its name. But nonetheless, comfortable cat for C. And we're going to need some cat colors in addition to the background and the border. So, some cats are kind of orange. So I have an orangey sort of color. Brown is the one that we have in the classroom, and some cats have some gray on them. Some of them have black too. I'm going to use some gray and some orange and some brown and pretend that this is one of those cats that has lots of different patchy colors on it. But you can choose any sort of cat-related color you'd like to. And so, of course, the first thing is going to be our border, helping our brain to kind of get oriented to the page, giving our hand a little bit of time to sink into our coloring skills and making some nice smooth colors, giving our eyes a chance to kind of sit back and get warmed up to, it's kind of hard. You have to see details and the whole thing all together at one time. It's not really hard. It's just a different way of looking. So my eyes kind of go back and forth between seeing the detail of what I'm coloring right now and then stopping for a little bit to sort of pause and look and see if things are even or if there are darker spots or lighter spots. And like I say every week, if I'm doing my border faster than you are welcome to pause the video to catch up. I would expect it to take you longer than it takes me. If it's not taking you as long as it takes me to do this, then that's a good clue that you should probably slow down a little bit and work a little bit more carefully so that we end up with a really nice book with all of our alphabet letters in it. Now, kindergarten, I know that this year, you guys pretty much know your letters already, right? You didn't need me to tell you that C said K. You already knew that. You've already been reading words with C in them. But first of all, this is really good training for our hands and our eyes. Do you remember I've said before in the classroom that smart fingers help our brains be smart? So this is going to help our fingers really work out how these things go. And practicing remembering, just like we've worked at with reading books in the classroom, when we practice remembering things from day to day, that also helps our brain get stronger. So even when it's stories and we're just remembering what happened in the story yesterday or what happened in the story last week, it's making our brain stronger, practicing using our memory. So I've just about got my border finished here. I've got this side here to go. And you know what? When I look at the bottom and I look at this side seems kind of thin. But it does sort of match the other side. The other side is kind of thin compared to the bottom also. So I might leave it. Sometimes I like having the bottom border be a little bit wider because then it's like it gives it a strong base, almost like a nice strong chair for the picture to be on. So here I go, curving my corners. If you've already finished, that's a good thing to check on. If your corners are straight, sharp corners, go back and curve them some. It's going to help your brain work on that picture in the middle a little bit better if your corners are really curved. All right, I'm going to now get out my color for my cat, and I'm going to use brown as my main cat color. So remember, C is our first start in the middle letter. So instead of starting over here like we've done with most of our letters, smiley face, starting dot, big line down, frog jump, we're not doing that. We're starting in the middle with C, and we're making a big curve to the bottom. Now, straight lines, they can be difficult to make, but, it's not too hard to clean them up. Curves can be a little more tricky to get nice and even. So like we've talked about before, I'm going to get mine made, and then I'm going to go back and look for ways that I might need to smooth it out. Maybe I'm going to need to add a little bit to one side or try to bring one side in a little bit. So here I am curving it around. And you can see my bottom of the C and my top of the C are going to be kind of even with each other. All right, so here it is. I'm going to take a look at it. Well, first of all, I can see that the top of it is skinnier than the bottom, and I have this weird flat spot. So I'm going to even that out right there. And then over here, I'm going to bring a little bit more back this way, because remember that cat was really curled up, nice and warm in the windowsill. All right, there's that. Now, this is a little skinny here. Maybe I'll add a little bit on the inside. All right, and remember, we want to make our letter really be the thing that stands out obvious. So I'm going to go back and forth here on my C a few times to make it nice and dark so that it's easy to see the C part of my picture. All right, now the next thing we're going to work on with our cat is the head. And the head is going to kind of sit right in here. So I'm going to take my brown and kind of scoop its face here, some like this. And I'm going to make it look like it's all warm and curled up sleepy. And maybe I'll switch over here to gray, and I'm going to give it some whiskers. You know how kitty cats have whiskers. Usually we draw it with 3 whiskers on each side. There's my cat. Now I want to give it some ears too. Cats have pointy ears, you know, right? So there's one cat ear and another cat ear. And then I'm going to use orange on its face and its ears to color in a little bit. All right. Now I'm going to add a tail. You know, if a cat is all curled up and comfy, it usually has its tail curled up into its body. So I'm going to add that in right here. I don't want to make it as dark as my letter C was. Do you see? I'm trying to be kind of careful to make it be a little bit lighter than the C itself. Now, if a cat is all curled up comfy, it's kind of got its paws, you know, curled up too. So here's one paw. Here's another paw. And then its feet might kind of be down here, curled up in it, all warm and cozy and sleepy. And then I think I'm going to use my gray for the rest of the cat's body. And I'm just going to kind of color it in like this. This is going to be kind of a not skinny cat. You see, here it is. We're not going for exactly a cat, right? We're just going for kind of something that reminds us of a cat. So here's the gray body of my cat, and you know I like to blend my colors. So I'm going to get this gray in here, and then I'm going to pick up the brown, and I'm going to do its face a little bit more with brown, and then I'm going to do a little brown over top of its body. I had been thinking to kind of go patchy, you know, different patches of color, but I think instead I'm just going to do this kind of gray and brown together. I like that color for a cat. It kind of looks like a good cat color to me, but you might decide to make a black cat. I don't know if you remember seeing Sawyer's cat Mina on camera. Sometimes Mina is black. So you might do a black cat, orange, maybe it's all brown like the one in the classroom. There's our cat. And again, we're going to color in our background. I'm going to start up here, kind of by its face, and be kind of careful going around the body of the cat so that I don't end up scribbling my border color into the cat's body. And remember how I'm going to end up with big white spaces to fill in, right? Like down here. So I'm going to keep giving my brain breaks back and forth. And I'm going to come down here and do some of these great big white spaces. And you can see I'm not making my color very hard, right? On my background, I'm really going to use my color pretty lightly, because I don't really need my background to like overwhelm the whole rest of the picture. There we go. Now, sometimes some students have actually tried to draw the cat in a windowsill. I worked with them on that one, so that was kind of tricky. If you want to be drawing a whole windowsill around the cat, go right ahead. But sometimes I like just having the background, and it really makes the picture stand out a lot when it's just a plain background rather than a fancy pattern in the background. All right, I've got a big section of my white done now, and I'm going to come in here inside the cat's tail and get some of this border colored in here. Not a border, this background colored in. All right, and then I'm going to go up and start working on some of this big white area here. And again, remember, I've done this a lot, so if you need to pause the video because I get too far ahead of you, or right now all I'm doing is finishing this out, right? And there's not anything more I'm going to be teaching you about how to make the picture. So you could just go to the end of it and continue on. It's fine to take your time. Remember, we talk sometimes in the classroom about how somebody who gets done early, it might be because they're smarter, but sometimes people who are taking longer, they're thinking a little more carefully about things. So just being fast doesn't necessarily mean you're better at it. Sometimes fast just means you've had more practice, but sometimes fast means you're not really thinking about it very carefully. So it is fine to take a while on things. I'm trying to be real careful going around the ears here so that my nice pointy cat ears still show up. All right, I'm going to come in this corner and start filling some in. There we go. And you know, I could speed this up and make a slightly different kind of video for you, but I really want you to see how long it takes me. Because, you know, sometimes kids feel like they should be done in just a minute or two. And they get frustrated keeping going on it because they just feel like it goes on and on forever. And I know sometimes it feels like that. But I want you to see me doing this whole thing so you can know, grown-ups, you know, we sit here and we're just going on and on and on with this coloring too. That's just how it happens sometimes. We have to be persistent. And, you know, when we talk about reading, we talk about having stamina for all kinds of work. We have to build stamina. We have to build our ability to keep going at it. Because anytime you're going to work on a good project, you know, it doesn't get done very fast. It takes a while. Maybe your mom or dad likes to make a certain kind of special bread. That takes a while. Or maybe they're building a special kind of amplifier, and that can take a long time. These big jobs sometimes, they take a while. So we're going to have persistence and build our stamina and get all the way through them. So boys and girls, here is my comfortable cat. You go ahead, take your time if you need to finish yours up. As I sit back and look at mine, I feel like this part of my cat here needs to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to get my gray and go over that a little bit more so that it's easier to see my cat and he doesn't just blend into the background. So you feel free to do the same thing. When you finish, take a moment to stop and look and see if there are some adjustments that should be made. All right, I like that quite a bit better now. I can see my really comfy, cozy cat all curled up there on the windowsill. All right, I will see you guys on Monday. Make sure you're saving these pictures somewhere at home in a safe place so we'll be able to finish up your whole alphabet book later on.